If you like what I do, consider supporting me on Ko-fi or Patreon. Links in the description. Hey everyone, this is the Metroidvania Guru, and welcome to the final stretch of the definitive Metroidvania Tier List series. I'm winding this series down because of how I structure my reviews nowadays. Long story short, I place reviewed games directly on the tier list at the end of their review, so this series has become redundant. As a send-off, I want to take every game I've already reviewed that I haven't placed on the tier list yet, and place it on the tier list. It's a lot of games, 24 to be exact. So I'm going to parse this out with 6 games per episode, bringing this wind-down series to a total of 4 episodes. I'm doing an episode a month, so this will take us to the end of the year, allowing me to start January with a clean slate of having every MV I've ever reviewed on the tier list. If you think you'll miss this series, fret not. There's a tier in my Patreon that gives you access to a monthly Patreon exclusive show called Guru Unfiltered, where I talk about all kinds of MV stuff, including diving deeper into the games I reviewed that month with more detailed reasoning behind those games' tier placement. Check out my Patreon if that sounds interesting. Links in the description. Now, before we get started, a couple things. First, I won't be as detailed as I usually am during this wind-down series. There are 6 games per episode instead of 3, and I've already done long-form reviews on every single game featured. If you want more detail on any of these games, I'll throw a card up linking you to their video. Second, for Gits and Shiggles, I'm using monthly themes to choose which games I place on the tier list as we cap off this series. And this month's theme is Weird Metroidvanias, or more appropriately, strange and or non-traditional Metroidvanias. With the preamble finally out of the way, let's begin. First up we have is Geno Panic. GenoPanic is a fast-paced action platform Metroidvania that tasks your little astro engineer to rescue GMOs from a space station that's not doing too well. GMOs being genetically modified organisms, basically these cute little animals that have been experimented on. Along the way, you'll be obtaining a bunch of different gear to traverse the ailing space station, as well as contending against the thickest AI I've ever seen. Alright, let's start with the pros. First pro I have here is that it is fast and responsive. The platforming mechanics in GenoPanic are tight, allowing for smooth transitions between jumping, dashing, and attacking. The control's precision makes the game feel fast and rewarding. Alright, our next pro, I'll say we have creative level design. Each area has its own distinct identity filled with engaging traps and puzzles. There's also this kind of like thing that the game does where the walls and the floors just kind of crumble when you touch them. It can be obnoxious at sometimes, but mostly it's fine, and everything's kind of like queued up for you, like any kind of crumbling wall you'll know will crumble because there's some sort of like thing indicating that it will. So there's no guesswork here. You look, you see the thing that identifies a crumbly wall, and then you walk into the wall and everything's fine. Well, I mean, except for the wall, it's going to crumble, but you won't get lost, that's what I mean. But yeah, I did like the level design in this game. It starts out pretty, rudimentary, but it starts getting really fast-paced once you start getting a whole bunch of other different abilities and gear. And you'll be doing all kinds of things like going through crumbly walls and floors and activating elevators, using elevators, and opening and unlocking doors and stuff like that. You know, your typical kind of like action platformy type thing. Well, I guess maybe not action platforming, more like puzzle platforming, but there's some action in the game. You can attack and stuff, but the game is really more of a puzzle platformer. Alright, and the last pro I have here is adorable enemy design and good humor. Enemies in this game are more cute than creepy, with some late game exceptions, and there's a pervading humor throughout. Like, if you have to do something in the game, they'll like spray paint it on the wall, like, try throwing something at the monkey, or whatever. And then the AI is pretty funny, how she interacts with the little engineer dude. And then there's a part where all the zombies are like in a break room dancing and there's a disco ball. I mean, the game is super goofy and super cute. Alright, that'll do it for the pros. On to the cons. First one I have here is non-existent backtracking. GenoPanic becomes a very straightforward puzzle platformer after a few biomes. Like the first few biomes, I want to say 2 or 3 biomes, there is some backtracking that you have to do. Nothing really like off the beaten path. Every once in a while there is. Really, if you're going off the beaten path, you're looking for one of those GMOs. And again, these GMOs are like these cute little animals that you have to find. I think there are 6 in all, and if you do not collect all of them, you will get the bad end. So you don't want that. So yeah, you can kind of go off the beaten path to find these GMOs, but it's not like it's not hard to figure out. I mean, there are times where you're chasing them and they're going from room to room. So they guide you to get these GMOs, but largely this game is incredibly straightforward, very linear, especially in the later levels. Again, I think it's like biome 3 or 4 onward, it's almost like a straight line. You may return to some rooms as you're exploring, but really it's pretty much just like straightforward. The next con I have here is limited progression system. The upgrades you can unlock feel somewhat underwhelming. The sense of power progression is minimal, which could detract from the overall Metroidvania experience. Like, you're not going to increase your HP, you're not going to increase your defenses, anything like that. All you're really going to do are find these items, or really not even items, they're equipment. Like, you can find like a flamethrower, a freeze gun, all kinds of stuff like that. And these don't really do anything for your character. Really, it's just, they're there to help you with the puzzles that are going to be in your way. And so yeah, there's really not a progression system here. And the last con I have here is unrewarding exploration. The game becomes very linear, like I said 1,000 times already, and there's little reason to explore off the beaten path if there are any alternate paths. So sometimes there's some things that you can find within rooms that are a little out of the way, like logs, so you can get some lore. But that's it. You can find these 6 GMOs that are kind of off the beaten path. You can find some hidden logs for lore, and that's really it. That's it for exploration. Again, it gets really straightforward. And so with that being said, my final thoughts for GenoPanic. Let's see. GenoPanic, it offers a fast-paced platform experience, but it doesn't quite live up to the standards set by the best in the Metroidvania genre. The level design shines for a puzzle/action platformer, but the lack of real exploration and limited progression leaves something to be desired. If you're looking for a fun, short romp, GenoPanic delivers, but it falls short of being a must-play experience. And that is why I'm placing GenoPanic in the D tier. Now, in GenoPanic's defense, it's not really a Metroidvania. I mean, it is, but it's not really what it's trying to be. It has Metroidvania elements, and it starts out like one, like I said, like in the first 2 or 3 biomes. But the game, it even bills itself as being a puzzle platformer with some action elements. So the fact that I have it as a D on here, it's not indicative of the actual quality of the game. This is just, what its Metroidvania-ness is. And if I was going to suggest a Metroidvania to somebody, GenoPanic would not be the one. But if someone was just looking for a cutesy puzzle platformer, GenoPanic is a really good move. It's not too difficult, it's really short, and it's a beautiful looking game. I love the pixel art in the game as well as the animations. And again, its humor is great as well. But this is the Metroidvania channel, and I got to be straight with you. GenoPanic is not a very good Metroidvania. But again, it doesn't bill itself as one. Next up, we have Disney Illusion Island. Disney Illusion Island brings the classic Disney magic to the Metroidvania genre. Starring Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy, the game takes you through a whimsical world full of secrets, puzzles, and challenges. The hand-drawn art style, lighthearted tone, and charming animations bring a high budget and unique flavor to the Metroidvania experience. And again, what's really interesting about Disney Illusion Island is that it is a AAA release. We don't get too many AAA Metroidvanias coming out. I know we got this Disney Illusion Island, Prince of Persia just came out, Yars Rising, which there will be a video on this Friday, Shinsekai Into the Depths from Capcom, and then of course Nintendo did Metroid Dread. But yeah, other than that, there may be a few I might be missing, but it shouldn't be that much. But yeah, it's only a handful of AAA studios that are tackling the Metroidvania genre, and here's one of them, Disney Illusion Island. And so getting into the pros, first thing, charming visuals and animations. The hand-drawn art style and animations are delightful, bringing the classic Disney characters to life in a way that feels both nostalgic and fresh. And even though I do love this game's animations, I'm actually not the biggest fan of their iteration of Mickey and Minnie and the gang. I think they look kind of sickly, and I guess it's kind of based off of this one series that they did on the Disney Channel based off of these characters. I thought they looked pretty sickly too, but I thought that was funny. These guys, they look really sickly in this game in my opinion. But those animations are amazing. And I really like the fact that every character has the same moves, like a double jump or whatnot. But each character does something differently. I can't remember everything off the top of my head, but I know I think Mickey Mouse, when he does his double jump, I think he pulls out like a paper airplane or something like that, but when someone else does a double jump, they use like a balloon or something. I don't know. It's like, it's the same move, but just different animations for each character, and I thought that was really cool. The next pro is that it has accessible gameplay. Disney Illusion Island offers a more relaxed experience. It's designed with a wide audience in mind, making it accessible to younger players and those new to the genre. And I know I said this in my review of the game, but this is a game for children. That's not an insult. That's the audience they're going for. And if you have smaller kids, this might be a game you want to play. It is very accessible, and 4 people can play at once, I think is actually my next point pro here in a second. But yeah, I mean, if you got little kids in the room, you can turn on invincibility. They'll never die, and there's no combat in the game. So yeah, I don't think I really outlined that, but yeah, there's no combat in this game. That's not a plus or a minus. That's, it is what it is. But yeah, this is a very kid-friendly game, and anyone can just really pop in and out of it, so that's pretty fine. And so I guess that'll take us right to our next pro, cooperative multiplayer. And I really don't have much more to add other than it supports co-op play and allows 4 players to play at once. And if you got some youngins in the house, they may enjoy this. I mean, it's Mickey and Goofy and Donald and stuff, right? So they're bound to, like it a little bit, right? All right, on to the cons. First is simplistic platforming mechanics. While this game is accessible, it's way too easy for veteran Metroidvania enthusiasts. The challenge level is relatively low, with platforming and combat lacking the depth and difficulty found in other games of the genre. Like, take the boss fights, for example. You don't really do much. I mean, there's some environmental hazards you gotta block, and then you gotta maybe go to an area or collect some things or whatever, and then something will fall on the boss's head, and you do that like 3 or 4 times, and then it's over. It's hard to stay awake. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is not a very, very engaging game, at least because I'm an adult. All right, next con, limited exploration rewards. The sense of exploration feels a bit shallow. There are a few meaningful upgrades or secrets to discover, which can make progression feel less satisfying. And again, this is for children, and so things are kept simplistic. And even the secrets, like if you want to find a false wall, there's always it looks like there's a hole punch on the wall that indicates that it's false, and you can there's a secret there. I don't know. Again, this is for children, and I'll just leave it at that. It's super easy, guys. And that brings me to my last con here. I said 0 combat. That's boring. I literally had to push myself to complete this game through glazed over eyes. I just wasn't having fun with this one, guys. All right, on to my final thoughts. Disney Illusion Island is a charming adventure, especially for Disney fans and those looking for a more relaxed, family-friendly Metroidvania experience. However, for seasoned Metroidvania players, the lack of difficulty in combat and exploratory depth will be a huge drawback. It's a solid entry for people with kids, but it falls short of being a standout in the genre. That's why I'm placing Disney Illusion Island in the D tier, D for Disney. Next up is Tomomi. Tomomi follows the story of a highly skilled and highly thirsty assassin navigating a labyrinthine tech facility. With its sharp pixel art and fast-paced gameplay, the game blends platforming and combat in a surprisingly fun way. Don't let the flash game quality, character portraits, and Newgrounds humor deter you from checking this game out. Alright, for pros, first I have is fast-paced movement and combat. Tomomi excels at making you feel nimble with responsive controls and fluid movement mechanics. Wall jumping, dashing, and air maneuvers make traversal exhilarating, and combat is quick and precise. You'll be throwing shurikens and jumping and slicing and even using your grappling hook to do this kind of spinny katana attack. It's all, really, really fun, and it flows very well. This is a very fast game. And it's short too. I can't remember. I think I beat it in 3 hours or something like that, maybe less. So with how fast the game moves, in conjunction with how short it is, this game will go by in a blink of an eye. But I guarantee you'll have some fun. Next pro is I like the pixel art and the animations. I talked a little bit about the portraits that you'll see in the game. Those they're kind of amateurish in my opinion. They don't look all that great, and I just kind of ignore them. But if you actually take a look at the game with its pixel art, it's pretty dang solid. I think everything looks really good in this game and flows very nicely. Albeit not the portraits; those not so much. And the last pro I have here is that it has a very fun progression system. It's a simple shop that you use money dropped by defeated enemies, but it's pretty addictive. And Tomomi ends up being ridiculously powerful by the end. I remember there's like a spot in the game where I was farming stuff. You can like kill this one like enemy. It's I don't know, it's like a giant, it's like a mech and it spews fire. And you could kill it real quick before it turned around, and then I would like leave and then come back and then just kill him over and over and over, just so I can get money and spit it at these shops to jack Tomomi up. You can increase all kinds of stuff, you get all kinds of ridiculous abilities. It's actually really fun. Alright, on to the cons. First con, this game is way too linear. Very little incentive to backtrack or explore off the beaten path, though there is a pretty significant optional section to find that I thought was pretty fun and rewarding. It was like an elevator or whatever, I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, that was actually pretty fun to do. There is a New Game Plus that lets you keep your abilities, but the game puts up gates to stop you from sequence breaking, and that's like super lame. Next, the short play time. Tomomi is short, like I said earlier, I think it's like 3 hours, maybe less. It's fun for what it is, and repeat play is rewarded with bosses having alternate attack patterns and brand new moves. And so really, this con of being too short, that could go either way, right? But I personally thought I guess it was fine for me because like I did want to play the game twice because you do get rewarded with extra stuff if you play it the second time. So I guess take that with a grain of salt, but some people, they don't like to throw their money down for a game that's like 3 hours. So just keep that in mind. And the last con I have here is that the game's humor is lame and it has a boring story. Its humor is immature and rarely lands, if it lands at all. I really don't remember a single moment where I laughed. Like, the crux of the humor is really around Tomomi being like super thirsty and trying to like get with like the other girl. I don't know. She's like the guy or the girl in the chair, She's like giving the objectives and helping Tomomi out, and Tomomi's like trying to show flash her panties at her and says all kind of lewd and inappropriate things. Like, I don't know what organization she's working for, but if they have HR, she's in big trouble. I guess what I'm saying is like I mostly just cringed and died a little inside from secondhand embarrassment over every single stupid joke in this game. And as for the story, yeah, like I said, it's boring, and I don't know. The only thing that really motivates you to play this game and to keep pushing forward is really just how actual, like, fun the game is. Like, running around, slicing things with your katana and jumping all over the place. It's legitimately fun. That's really why you want to play this game. Not for its story, not for its humor, to kill stuff with your katana. Alright, final thoughts for Tomomi. Tomomi is a slick, fast-paced Metroidvania that delivers in terms of fluid gameplay and nice pixel art. While it may be a bit short and not offer much in terms of exploration, it's a solid choice for MV fans who want something quick, easy, and fun to burn through in a lazy afternoon. And because of all that, I'm going to put Tomomi in the D tier. I'll put it at the top of the D tier because it is so genuinely fun, but when it comes to other Metroidvania aspects, it fails pretty much miserably. Like, seriously, you start the New Game Plus, and they legitimately throw gates up to stop you from sequence breaking. That's not very MV, Tomomi. Next up is Dandara. Dandara is a unique Metroidvania that breaks the mold of traditional platforming by focusing on gravity-defying movement, where you jump and stick to walls and crap. Set in the world of Salt, where the oppressed cry out for freedom, players control Dandara, a mysterious hero who can leap across walls, ceilings, and floors. This innovative movement system is paired with the usual Metroidvania fare of exploration, upgrades, and combat. Okay, full disclosure, I did not complete this game's DLC, Trial of Fears. I completed the base game that took maybe 5 or 6 hours, but I was done with it after that. But we'll get into all that eventually. Let's start with the pros. First pro, innovative movement mechanics. Whether you like them or not, it's a big standout feature in Dandara. Rather than traditional running and jumping, Dandara zips from surface to surface as long as there is like salt on the surface. I honestly have no idea what that's about. This game is like very abstract and full of symbolism that I didn't really grasp, and I think I'll talk about that in a moment. So, I know, call me stupid, but I don't know what's going on. But yeah, you can jump from wall to wall, ceiling to ceiling, whatever, but you can't actually run and move on your own. You're just jumping everywhere. So I'll put that as a pro because that's interesting, it's innovative, but I didn't like it. I'll just throw it out there for you. Next pro is the gorgeous handcrafted art style. Dandara boasts a beautiful pixel art style with a vibrant world full of rich details and creative designs. The environments are surreal and dreamlike, enhancing the feeling of being in a strange, otherworldly place. Next is engaging boss battles. The boss fights in Dandara are well designed, requiring both quick reflexes and strategic thinking. Each boss feels distinct and memorable, using the unique movement systems to great effect. I really liked the bosses in this game. They're the obvious highlights, and it really made the movement system click for me. Like, actually exploring and moving around the map using this weird movement system I didn't really like, but for some reason it was really cool in the boss fights. So yeah, I found the boss fights to be very engaging. And the last pro I have here is just the room names. Anytime you enter a new area or a new room, the name of that room will come up on the screen. And I just loved it. It made everything feel more epic for some reason. I still remember entering the room called the Golden Threat and then shitting my pants when I saw that huge cannon. Good times. Alright, on to the cons. First con is a steep learning curve. While the movement system is one of Dandara's biggest strengths, it also comes with a steep learning curve. Some players may find it disorienting or challenging, like myself, to adjust to the unconventional traversal mechanics. I mean, just watch some gameplay, take a look at the trailer, see if it's for you. Was it for me? But man, maybe you might like it, so take that for what it's worth. Take that with a grain of salt. Next is sparse guidance. Like many Metroidvanias, Dandara leaves much up to the player to discover. However, the lack of direction can sometimes feel overwhelming, especially given the non-traditional movement and world layout. This can lead to moments of frustration. I remember getting lost in the game's third or fourth biome. I had no clue where to go, so I decided to just backtrack everywhere, and I eventually found the biome's boss, which, for reference, was the game's second boss. I had no idea I had to return to this arbitrary and out-of-the-place room to initiate this boss fight. It felt very odd and nonsensical. And the last con I want to talk about is the level design. There are a lot of one-way streets in this game, especially in the first biome, I guess the first major biome, before you fight the first boss. I just found it absolutely frustrating. I had to keep hopping back and forth to the same rooms because I missed some platform or whatever, and I don't know, I hate one-way street level design. It just makes me so angry, but this game has it, so be aware. Alright, now we're going into the spoiler section for Dandara because I want to talk about something real quick. Go to this timestamp if you'd like to fast travel to my final thoughts on Dandara. Alright, so the only spoiler I want to talk about with Dandara is like this fast travel to progress part in the game. Basically, once you unlock the fast travel, you need to use it in order to progress in the game. This is another one of those frustrating moments like finding the second boss, but this was kind of foreshadowed, if I can remember correctly. I think I recall someone or something in the game stating to always keep track of campsites, this game's bonfires/save points, and to make note of ones that you can't reach. And that's exactly what you need to do. Fast travel to a campsite you cannot otherwise reach. I actually thought this was the coolest thing Dandara does. Okay, my final thoughts on Dandara. Dandara offers a fresh, innovative take on the Metroidvania formula with its gravity-defying movement and gorgeous presentation. While the unique traversal system may take time to get used to, it provides an experience unlike any other in the genre. However, the steep learning curve and sparse guidance may turn off some players. Personally, I hated the game's movement. It's kinda cool, especially with how fast you can move, but there was something about its abstract world that really didn't spark anything within me to want to explore it. And when I did explore it, there was just nothing worth finding, really. I don't know, I just couldn't connect with Dandara, and it's one of the rare games that I did not quote-unquote finish. I completed the base game, but I was not about to do its DLC. I just did not like the game enough to devote more time to it. With all that said, I'm going to place Dandara in the low C tier. Maybe it would be higher if I actually played the Trial of Fear DLC or whatever it's called, but I don't know, man. It was definitely a game that was like, I just want to finish this and never play it again. There may be people out there that think differently, but I just don't think it really hit those MV, things that I want. I didn't want to explore this world because I didn't like its movement. Its story was just too abstract for me, full of symbolism. I know I think it's about like a Brazilian rebel fighter or something like that, which sounds really cool. But I didn't really do any research on it, and just going off the game, it just didn't really hit me. And I know there's so much going on in this game story-wise, I just didn't get it. And maybe I would if I did the Trial of Fear DLC, but just with the base game, I'm putting Dandara low C, and I think that's solid. Next up is Animal Well, a mysterious, atmospheric Metroidvania that focuses on exploration and quote-unquote puzzle solving over combat. I put puzzle solving in quotes, but we'll get into that, I think, in the spoiler section. Anyway, Animal Well. Set in a dense, interconnected world filled with strange animals and tons of hidden secrets, the game challenges players to explore its eerie yet captivating environment. With a minimalistic approach to gameplay and storytelling, Animal Well is more about discovery and the sense of wonder that comes from unraveling its many layers. And I'll dive into those layers, I think a little bit, non-spoiler territory, but really in the spoiler territory. But first, the pros. First pro I have here is a deep sense of mystery and discovery. Animal Well excels at creating an atmosphere of curiosity. The world is filled with secrets, and uncovering them feels deeply satisfying. You're encouraged to experiment with all the toys that you're collecting in order to navigate its world. The game's map is also very helpful in finding all the eggs, because, finding the eggs is kind of the big deal in this game. If a part of the map looks like it's hiding something, or is like some sort of path that looks like it's leading somewhere but just kind of cuts off, it most likely is something and you should be exploring or at least investigating it. But yeah, this game, it steeps you in its mystery and its atmosphere, and just discovering anything in the game feels really, really awesome. Anytime you find a new egg or a new path, it feels great. Next pro is its unique art style. Billy Basso, the creator of the game, the solo dev, by the way, created this game's engine all by himself, and it just looks beautiful. The game's pixel art is both minimalistic and stunning, blending retro aesthetics with modern effects. The lighting and environmental design create a sense of isolation, heightening the tension while exploring. It really just all comes together nicely, in my opinion. Next up, for the pros, we got non-linear puzzle solving. Instead of relying on combat, Animal Well emphasizes puzzle solving, with many of its areas and items hidden in ways that require careful observation and clever thinking. And what I mean by clever thinking is, again, I'm not trying to be spoilery, but you'll discover that all of your little toys that you're collecting have, I guess, multiple uses or hidden uses. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, this adds a unique layer of challenge compared to your typical action-oriented Metroidvania. And really what I'm talking about in this pro with the non-linear puzzle solving, I'm talking mainly about the first 2 layers of the game. I don't know, it's been a while since I played this game, to be honest with you, or even looked up anything on it. But when I first started playing this game, everyone was very much aligned by saying that there were 4 layers to this game. And the first 2 layers, to me, are the sensible, insane ones. Layer 3 and 4, that'll be for all you OCD people, and you guys can have those. But when it comes to layer 1 and 2, that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying non-linear puzzle solving. Layer 1, that's going to be, just beating the game, right? And layer 2, that's going to be 100%ing the game. Layer 3 and 4, again, that's for anyone that's interested in scrubbing this game pixel by pixel. That ain't me. But for layers 1 and 2, just, getting to the end and then 100% of the game, I found that to be super rewarding. All right, on to the cons. First is that this game has very slow pacing. Animal Well's focus on exploration and puzzle solving over combat might feel slow to players looking for more action. The lack of enemies, or really just enemies only being glorified environmental hazards, and fast-paced sequences could leave some feeling that the game drags at times. Next con, minimal guidance. Like many atmospheric puzzle games, Animal Well provides very little direction. While this promotes a sense of discovery, it can also lead to frustration when you're stuck on a puzzle or unsure where to go. And the last con here, it has a very unsatisfying narrative. There's nothing really going on here, maybe in a symbolic way, but nothing really to hold your interest. Like, if you're going to be interested in, Animal Well, you're going to be motivated by just finding those eggs and really just taking in the atmosphere. And this game's atmosphere, it is thick and it is beautiful and it is wonderful. It makes so much of the experience. So much so that I wish there was a narrative, like a coherent narrative, something to bring it all together, but there's really not. And that's just sad to me. All right, this is your spoiler warning. Go to this timestamp to fast travel to my final thoughts on Animal Well. Okay, so I kind of already brought it up earlier about the layers, right? And I told you that, layers 1 and 2 I thought were outstanding. Loved them. Finding all the eggs and getting that final ending is huge. I don't know, man. This is the X factor in the game, other than the atmosphere and stuff. But I loved beating the game and then trying to 100% it, and then finding all the other like toys and items and stuff that you need in order to complete the game. And it's just it's awesome. But in truth, it is kind of formulaic, and how Billy Basso, designed the world. Like, you have like the 4 areas, right? Like, the starting areas. I'm not talking about the place where you actually go down the well in the hell or whatever with the baboons or whatnot. But like, you got the dog area with the frisbee, you got the the watery area with the bubble wand, and then the blah and the blah, right? Those 4 main areas. All 4 of those areas are designed to be completed by gathering that area's toy. But then each area also has a bunch of different secrets and stuff that can only be opened if you have other toys that you got from other areas. Which, again, like I said, it's formulaic, but it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it is what it is. And so each area has its toy that can be used to complete that area, and then each area also has branching paths and a bunch of stuff and a bunch of secrets and stuff that can only be discovered once you have the other toys. And then you start finding things like other more hidden toys, like the top and the remote and stuff like that. And the way all of these toys kind of stack on each other to get the final ending is amazing. Because like when you first fight the Manicore, I think it was called, which is, by the way, like that thing scared the crap out of me when I first saw it. But when you first fight the Manicore, well, I guess not fight, but first go up against the Manicore, you gotta like do its obstacle course to get to the end and set off the fireworks. You only need like the 4 main items to do that. But if you want to complete the game, you gotta find the other like 4, 5, 6, whatever hidden items in order to go to that same room and find all kinds of different areas and paths that you didn't know were there because you didn't have those secret like toys yet. It's mind blowing and really, really cool. And I know I didn't talk about stuff like the flute and stuff like that in the non-spoilery section, but really, the less I talk about this game in the non-spoilery parts, the better, because I don't want to take anything from anyone when it comes to Animal Well. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff here, especially when it comes to the first and second layer. Now, when it comes to what I call the shitty extra layers, which is layer 3 and 4, I don't know, man. I know the game's layers, they're a big draw, but the latter layers are objectively bad. But they're bad by design, so I'm not going to hate on them too much. Personally, I prefer puzzles to have some rhyme or reason that's cohesive with mechanics and narrative. And most of the puzzles, if not all of them, in the game's 3rd and 4th layers are just obscure for obscure's sake, which works for the audience that loves that shit. But for normies like me who aren't going to scrub this game pixel by pixel, we could care less. Normally, I'd leave it at that, but because some puzzles require outside sources to complete, such as the bunny mural puzzle, I gotta say, this is crappy puzzle design. Someone who plays this game a decade from now is going to be forced to get that answer online because it will be impossible for them to answer it otherwise. And then I guess my last spoiler thing here is, I don't know if you know this, but canonically, in this game, you are a sentient rabbit turd. Proof on the screen now. You can't argue with me. This is actual canon. You're a rabbit turd. Okay, final thoughts for Animal Well. Animal Well stands out for its emphasis on exploration, atmosphere, and non-linear puzzle solving. The game creates a deep sense of wonder and mystery, making every discovery feel rewarding. However, its slow pacing, lack of combat, and minimal guidance may turn off players seeking a more traditional Metroidvania experience. And the puzzles in its 3rd and 4th layers are just obscure for obscure's sake. The real achievement here is how amazingly the world is designed and how the game's atmosphere and sense of discovery are excellent enough motivators to make up for the complete lack of narrative. And that's why Animal Well sits pretty in the A tier. I know that may seem a little odd considering there's no progression system, there's no combat and stuff like that. Like, there's not really a whole lot of different attributes that it really can hit on my pillars that I created and talked about in my one video. But that doesn't stop Animal Well from being absolutely fun to play and replay. Sometimes a Metroidvania just has that X factor, and Animal Well, it has that X factor. And what is that X factor? I have no idea. It has something to do with its atmosphere, with the world design, with just me being addicted to finding all of these eggs in order to unlock the true ending. Animal Well truly is special, and I would recommend it to any Metroidvania enthusiast. And last, but certainly not least, we have Worldless. Worldless is an abstract Metroidvania that blends exploration and turn-based combat. Set in a mysterious conceptual world where you play as a faceless entity, Worldless offers a distinct mix of platforming, exploration, and strategy as you uncover the secrets of an existential world. With its unique art direction and emphasis on philosophy and personal growth, the game stands out as a highly conceptual Metroidvania experience. Okay, pros. First up, unique combat system. Worldless features a turn-based combat system diverging from the usual real-time action in Metroidvanias. The mix of platforming and strategic combat adds depth and variety, requiring players to think tactically rather than button mashing through enemies. There's a lot of moves that you get in this game and a lot of swapping you'll be doing, and really when I describe this game to people, I'm like, it kind of plays like Punch-Out. I mean, you get like your turn-based, right? But I guess maybe it might be more apt to say it plays like the Mario and Luigi series, or anything with like I don't know, like what's the other one? Just Super Mario RPG, where you get your turn to attack and you got to press buttons and do things and certain prompts and whatnot, and then when the enemies attack you have to pay attention and block accordingly in order to dodge damage. It's all very, very fun. And I don't know, I think back at Punch-Out every time I think of the game because it is so fast paced. It's awesome. All right, next pro is the abstract art style. The minimalist visuals are striking, with clean lines and vibrant colors creating a sense of otherworldly beauty. The game's style fits its philosophical undertones, offering a world that feels both alien and intriguing. Next pro, engaging platforming. While combat is turn-based, the platforming in Worldless is fluid and precise. The movement mechanics feel satisfying, and the game offers a good mix of exploration and environmental puzzles, keeping the gameplay varied. One of my favorite things to do in this game was to just track down all the enemies and kill them, so then I could just focus on the exploration and platforming. I don't know, for some reason, I didn't really feel like exploring and platforming when I knew there were enemies out there, because they would just stop me. And so the game has this map system that is very useful, and it tells you, it doesn't overtly tell you, but you figure it out. But it'll keep track of enemies that you defeat in each node and whatnot. I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but yeah, the game does a lot. It gives you the tools to succeed, and gosh, it's so fun. I love this game. Next, I'll finally talk about the philosophical storytelling. I've been throwing around philosophy and philosophical for a while, so what do I mean by that? The narrative in Worldless is abstract and open to interpretation, but it offers a unique sense of depth, inviting players to reflect on themes of existence, growth, and purpose. It's a story that rewards players who enjoy piecing together meaning from subtle clues and symbolism. And I know when I was talking about Dandara, I said there was too much symbolism and it was the game was really abstract, but it was also full of concrete stuff that I just did not understand, like some Brazilian culture perhaps, or whoever this Dandara rebel fighter is. And so that mix of abstract and concrete just didn't hit for me. But when it comes to Worldless, they just stay in the abstract and you just kind of can interpret things yourself. And I just felt that to be much more effective. All right, on to the cons. First is lack of narrative clarity. Kind of contradicting myself there, but while the philosophical storytelling adds depth, it can also be confusing. The abstract nature of the plot and world design might leave some players feeling disconnected or unsure of the game's purpose. But I guess it's kind of what the game's going for. And the last con I want to talk about is that this game has a very unrewarding secret path. Now, I haven't played the game since launch, so maybe they patched something to make this secret, journey more fruitful. But at launch, when I played the game, I was very disappointed with its secret path. I actually discovered the secret path all on my own, and I felt like a genius. I was so stoked to discover what was at the end of this journey, only to be let down. I'll be vague as to not spoil, but this path culminates with a boss fight that's very simple and offers no tangible rewards. Maybe there's some lore this journey provides that I'm not grasping because the game is both abstract and steeped in scientific theory, none of which are my forte. But the journey to get there was thrilling nonetheless. It just sucked so hard that its ending sucked so hard. All right, my final thoughts for Worldless. Worldless is a distinctive entry in the Metroidvania genre with its abstract world, philosophical themes, and turn-based combat setting it apart from the usual action-heavy titles. The game is perfect for players who enjoy reflective, a little slower-paced experiences with a focus on strategy and exploration. However, its minimal narrative clarity and slower progression might not appeal to everyone. And with all that, Worldless rests nicely in the B tier. And that'll do it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed Weird Metroidvania Month. Let me know what you thought of these game placements in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm an idiot? Let me know in the comments. It's always great to hear this stuff. Like and subscribe if you dig my stuff, and I'll see you next month with episode 2 of our wind down series, Spooky Metroidvania Month. Later.